It's okay. They said start the recording early, so everybody's comfortable.
July 20th, 2017. That is the date. Location, where are we?
We're at home.
Home.
2017.
2017, yeah. Okay. So,
Where's home?
state your name for the record, please.
Oh, boy.
Oh, this is the legal interview. Are you
State your name for the record, please.
are you preparing for a court action?
Yeah. So, why Benjamin Frederick Bernard Villmer Jr.? Is that it? Everything?
Well, yes. Bernard is actually the confirmation name I got from the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So it was Benjamin Frederick Villmer.
Why? Hold on.
Frederick, because Benjamin and Frederick go throughout my family history.
Mm.
And a quick story on that is when it came time to name you, Mom wanted to make it Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never liked the name Benjamin, mostly because my father was Benjamin and I was always called Benny, which I didn't care for. So I said, no, we're not going to use Benjamin. It wasn't until years later I did the family history and found out that I broke a tradition of like 6 generations by not using the name Benjamin.
So back up to the Catholic Church. So Bernard. So when you get confirmed, they give you another name, what happens?
You actually pick a saint.
Oh, you pick a saint
to name yourself after.
Saint Bernard. And
That's a dog.
Well, there's also a dog.
What Saint Bernard is the saint of what? I don't remember.
Fetching.
I don't really
Saint
know.
of
I don't
fetching.
remember. I'm not even sure how or who came up with Saint Bernard.
Okay.
I kind of doubt if it was me at that age.
Gotcha.
You know.
Birth.
Probably Jesus. Came
Yeah.
up with Saint Bernard.
Nancy picked the name Teresa, so she is Nancy Lee Rose after my grandmother, and then Teresa after Saint Teresa.
Gotcha. Date of birth, November 30th, 1937.
November 29th.
29th. 1937.
You're the 30.
Place of birth, where?
I was born in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. Hospital?
Don't even know.
Don't even know.
They tore it down.
Long ago.
It was left over from the Civil War where they had taken care of wounded soldiers.
So are you technically a junior? Is that in your name?
No, because my father is Benjamin Ralph and I'm Benjamin Frederick.
Oh, so to be a junior, you have to have the same first
the
name
same
and
name.
last?
Right.
Ah. Wow.
And then if there's more than that, you become the first, second, third, fourth, fifth.
Yeah.
We have some of that in our family.
So your dad was Benjamin Ralph, is that right? Okay.
Correct.
And how about your mom?
My mom was Gertrude Herman, did not have a second or a middle name.
I've never heard a more old school name than Gertrude Herman.
Oh, what's worse than that is it's HERRMANN.
Oh, Lord.
It is
German
and they came over. Her father grew up in Germany, and they came over not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So he spent a lot of time in Germany as a child, and then moved over here.
Oh, so her dad or her parents were first generation immigrants into the country. Got it. All right.
Correct, and they came directly to St. Louis.
Okay. Where were your parents born?
Well, my father was born in DeSoto, Missouri.
Okay.
And my mother was born in St. Louis. They had a little town, I can't think what it's called, but it's part of St. Louis at this point. But it was now it's a neighborhood. It was a little town on its own.
Is there
Pattonville, I think. Yeah, that was it, Pattonville.
Is there are they buried in St. Louis somewhere?
Yes.
Have you guys ever gone back there to go, like?
Yes, Nancy and I talk about that because Nancy and I have gone a few times, and I'm not a believer in going to gravesites simply because I don't feel like they're there.
Yeah.
You know, they're long gone.
Yeah.
But Nancy loves to go visit the grave, so I've gone with her to visit my father and mother's grave.
And where is that? What's the name of the cemetery? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It's in my records, but I don't remember. And it's in the city of St. Louis. It's not out somewhere. At the time, it was out. Now it's not.
Yeah. Did you know your grandparents?
I knew my grandparents, but not terribly well. They were the first ones to have a television.
Nice. Nice. Fancy.
And for a while, until we all got our own televisions, we went every Sunday and watched Howdy Doody and Milton Berle in a dark, smoke-filled room with 6 brothers and a sister and their families in one room in a little TV.
Okay, gotcha. They were in St. Louis, right?
They were in St. Louis, that's right. And they had come from Old Mines, Missouri, and to DeSoto, and then to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. How did your parents meet?
I don't honestly know how they met.
Yeah. You never asked, they never got into it.
It may have been mentioned, I don't know, but I was not aware of it.
Any stories about them? I mean, well, first, tell the Tupperware story, and then I'll ask you about any other stories.
Well, my mother and father came up with a guy who had a patent for a new material. And it was what we today refer to as a nylon, hard nylon. They wound up making Corvette bodies for a while out of the nylon. But it competed with Tupperware. And it had advantages over Tupperware because Tupperware, you could not put it in the oven or in the freezer. You could put it in the refrigerator. You could take leftovers, put it in their stuff, and put it in the freezer and freeze it, take it out, and you could stick it into the microwave or whatever. You know, it didn't hurt it to do that. So that became very popular. And they did it the same way Tupperware was doing it, which is on the party plan. And
like the women would throw parties in
Tupperware
their house.
parties, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then you'd play all kinds of games, and they'd win different things for prizes and so on. But they worked very hard, and within 4 years, they had groups of people in 37 states that were selling that stuff, And, well, you've seen the record. They made excellent money, But they were both poor as church mouse as they grew up. I mean, if you look at their family pictures, all of them, they're just poor country people, And so they didn't know what to do with it. And so we owned an airplane, but nobody knew how to fly it. We had 4 cars, 2 drivers, They just totally didn't know what to do with it. Yeah. And when they lost it, they couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
My father's family had always been drinkers like country people. There's nothing else to do out there. So they drank all the time.
Why'd they lose it?
They lost it because my father was basically uneducated. He spent 3 years in the 6th grade, and they finally said, it's kind of a waste of your time. Yeah, so don't come back. So he didn't go back, but he was a very hard worker, and he had
Street smart.
street smarts, And so they started that business, and they could build the business. But my father's ego got ahead of him, and he wouldn't listen to his accountants, and he wouldn't listen to his lawyers, and he wouldn't listen to anybody. And they had come up with a company in St. Louis, that WLM Clark, which was a sewing machine manufacturer. And they had several plants, and they made a deal with them and converted one of the plants to manufacture this stuff. And little by little, they began getting bigger percentages of the business. And they kept warning my father about that, and he wouldn't listen to them. And finally, they got controlling interest, 51%.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, they began charging more for it to the company, and then the company had to pay more or had to sell it for more, and then they got more profit and so on.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where somebody had to sell out. And again, my father's ego got ahead of him, and they got only $10,000 when they got out of the business, but they were going to get, and I don't know the amount, but they were going to get a big package a year later, but they had to not go in competition.
Oh, Lord.
And
and that's the court case, yeah.
That's the court case. Within a week after they split up, my Uncle George was in business in Villmer's Household Products, doing the same thing on the party plan, And so when the time came for them to pay, they said, no, we're not going to pay.
Yeah.
You guys didn't follow your part of the agreement, and they lost everything.
And when you say your Uncle George, was that your dad trying to run it through his brother so it wasn't him? Is that what happened? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know all the particulars. He never discussed it with me as a child, but yeah, that was basically
the classic, it's not me, it's my brother.
That's right. That's right.
George and Fern.
Yeah,
that's George and Fern, right?
Okay, gotcha. Oh, I didn't know. Honestly, I never knew that. So George of George and Fern is your dad's brother.
Yes.
Holy crap. Wow.
Also, anyone that they ever knew worked for them.
Yeah.
Everyone in the family, all their good friends.
A good
everybody
solid
worked hard.
nepotism.
Right.
All nepotism.
But at the same time, they had the wherewithal to build the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't even remember the numbers. You were impressed with the numbers, I know.
Yeah, I forgot the court case is from like the 40s or the
Right.
early 50s, something like that. And
Right.
it was something like 200, 300,000, 600,000, I don't know. It was
Which
in the
at that
hundreds
time,
oh
it
my
was,
God,
it was huge.
hundreds
right.
of thousands of dollars back in
Right.
the 40s was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
But see, they went through that I mean, it's like every 5 weeks we moved to a better house.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And then when they lost everything, we didn't go buy a house down here. We bought a little smaller one that we found out we couldn't pay for, and then we bought a little smaller. We worked our way down
How
again.
old were you when that was happening?
Well, I went to boarding school through the 8th grade, and Nancy went to a different boarding school. So we essentially weren't raised together except on weekends, But I would say it was probably from about the 5th grade until maybe the first year of high school.
Jeez.
So what years would that be?
Well,
So you're old enough to really notice
notice.
oh
what the
yeah,
heck is happening.
yeah. But it wasn't a happy childhood at all because they couldn't get along because of that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fighting and a lot of drinking and all that kind of thing, and we weren't very happy. And Nancy and I weren't, until after school was over, we never really got to be good brother and sister.
Yeah.
But we are today, but we weren't then.
Well, and what was your boarding school?
Mount Providence Boarding School for young gentlemen.
They tore it down.
Sounds like a secret society.
The university took it over in St. Louis, and I just recently found a picture of it, although I have a picture of me in the 8th grade graduation class standing in front of it.
We used to drive by it.
Yeah.
Okay, and Aunt Nancy's what was her school?
St. Elizabeth's Academy
For young gentlewomen?
for young ladies. Right. And until recently, they were still a school, not a boarding school, but they were still a Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
And recently they closed that down.
Gotcha.
And they were in the heart of the city.
Any other? So we started out going down this road. I was going to ask you about any stories that you particularly remember about your parents that were good stories, and then I said, "Tell me about Tupperware."
Yeah.
What else other than Tupperware you got?
Well, there's not a lot of pleasant things to talk about. There really isn't. I mean, when they started being successful, they had to travel a great deal more. That's when we wound up in
Boarding school.
boarding schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the summertime, they would work it out. That was a good part. I could go on a trip for a week with my mother. My father didn't really travel much, but he didn't take care of us when she was gone.
Yeah.
And, I was with aunts and things like that during the summertime. I would go to DeSoto and spend a few weeks in DeSoto, Missouri every summer and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
The orphanage.
pardon me?
About the orphanage.
Well, that's just one unpleasant one unpleasant thought. But when they were looking for a place to put us, a boarding school,
Oh God!
they couldn't get us in right away, but they had to start traveling right away, and we wound up in an orphanage.
No, you didn't.
But it was temporary, and we all knew that.
It's a very.
But I was still looking around saying, these people don't have parents.
You can't.
I got parents. What am I doing here?
No,
Yet is groove.
no one literally could convince you. Like, it's temporary. You're like, but it doesn't
Feels like
seem
forever.
temporary.
But the kids
Well-
told them it wasn't temporary.
Yeah, well, of course they would. Yeah.
The
right?
kids didn't ever tell me that.
And
Where'd
this
you
isn't
get
your
that?
history, so you stay.
No, I
stay
didn't
out
tell
of
you
this.
that.
You stay.
I
out of
didn't tell
this.
you that.
Pardon me.
No. But anyhow, Nancy and I reacted to all of that very differently.
Okay.
I love my father a great deal. I can't say I respected my father because of the drinking and all that. I really kind of turned on my mother when all that happened. I guess I blamed her for all of that. She was the one who traveled and decided we had to go into boarding school and so on. And so my mother and I saw very little of each other, after I left home.
When did you leave home?
Well, that was my first of my 3 marriages. I married the daughter of one of the people that had been friends of theirs for years and had been in the company. Her name was Paula Hemphill. And
What's the company?
Well, when they started their own company, Household Plastics.
Oh, the plastics company.
The plastics. And when they started that, that was one of the couples they hired. And so, we had a lot of involvement and so on and so forth. And I did,
How old were you then?
I was probably a year and a half out of high school.
Gotcha.
Like 19.
But it's one of those, let's get away from home
Get the hell out
things.
of here.
There were no kids. I mean, I stayed married for a year. We both knew it was a big mistake and we got a divorce and that's it. And in doing family history, I can't even find a record of the marriage. So you're saying, look,
Like, so as far as I'm concerned, never
That's
existed.
right, it never happened, yeah, except on this tape. But anyhow, I just never had a good relation with my mother, and it was because I guess I blamed her for all of that happened. But
Yeah. So when you moved out, what, at age 19?
that's something right around there, yeah.
Okay. What about? I know you always told me about the job that you had at the tire factory. Was that? How old were you when you were doing the tire factory job?
That was in that period of time. My dad, when I went to night school, college, and in order to pay for that, I worked for International Shoe, and they didn't pay very well at all. And that's where Nancy's husband worked. Okay, and that's where one of my good friends, Leo Wildhaber, worked, and we still see her on his wife on Facebook and all that stuff today. But anyhow, my father got jobs. He got me a job doing the tire factory thing. It's the second dirtiest thing in the world.
Didn't you retread tires?
Well, what you did was I had a grinding wheel and something that was about a third of the size of this room.
Yeah.
And then there was a grinding wheel. And then you fit the tire on this wheel and it spun around and that ground all so the air was full of all
my
these
God.
particles.
Rubber.
And then they had a little sink to wash up in.
Yeah.
And I had it in my nose, my eyes, my ears, and I had to go to school 3 nights a week, to college. But nevertheless, they were against it. They didn't believe in going to college. No one in my family had ever gone to college. They didn't see any reason I should have. My father still had the attitude, all these college guys kept trying to tell me what to do, and they didn't know the business. I did, I'm smarter than they are.
You're like, well, do you own it now? All these smarties have the long game.
I never asked him that question.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
What'd you go to college for?
General business administration.
And where?
I went to St. Louis University Night School. And I had gone to St. Louis University High School for 3 years. And my folks paid for that. That's back when they were in business and so on. But the 4th year, they were out of business, so they couldn't afford to pay for it. And I went to work and paid for it. So I paid for my last year, But
And so you did 3 years at SLU, right?
SLU and 1 year at Cleveland High School.
Gotcha. And so why only 3 years?
Well, they paid for the 3.
Yeah, sure.
The 4th year I couldn't afford to pay for.
Yeah.
So I moved schools where I didn't have to pay.
Gotcha. So did you graduate with your degree or not? I forgot.
High school?
No, college.
Oh,
College.
business administration, yeah.
Business admin. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
Well, the other thing I was going to say to answer your question, that was the second dirtiest job in the world. I then got the first dirtiest job in the world. My father would get jobs that we did overnight where at that time, and I'm not sure if it's the same now, but on the top of buildings, the water system is to have this huge water tank.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and they get rusty on the inside and so on. So you have to empty the water out. You have to go in. You have to scrape all it. And you go through a hole about this big to get inside of it. And you take lights in with you. And you have to scrape all the rust off the inside of this. Okay.
You have to get a tetanus shot before you went in there?
No, I did have to pull my father out one night when he went out, But anyhow, then you had to get all of that out of the bottom. And then you had to take a cement paint and paint in cement on the inside. And we would do one of those a night, but I could make $600 in a night by doing that. So that's again how I helped pay for getting through school, But I got trained early, for tough jobs.
Yeah, it was all downhill from there.
It made me the patient person I am today.
So the first childhood house that you remember that you lived in?
Oh, look, Nancy and I talk about this all the time. I mean, we lived in 12 years, we lived in probably 15 houses. I'm serious. We kept going up, we kept going down.
What's the first one you remember?
First one I remember was on Alfred, and all I really remember of that house is the day we moved out, and we didn't have any money, and we bought a loaf of bread and a jar of mustard, and we had mustard sandwiches for lunch the day we moved out. I'll never forget that, you know. But the truth was, overall, I mean, we were living the good life when they had the business.
Yeah.
You know, we were living fine, you know. Yeah, but, you know, then when I went on my own, things were a lot better. I had control of everything then, you know, so.
How about your favorite house that you lived in as a kid?
Well, it would have to be Holly Hills, which is across the street from Cronolette Park in South St. Louis. And they had lakes where you could fish, but I had developed a technique on the shore as a small kid of catching fish with my hands. And we had a little pond in the backyard.
Hold on. What was your technique to catch fish with your bare hands?
You would be able to lock your arm with rocks here where the fish hung around. You'd lock them in here, and then you could get them.
And you would go do what with them?
I would then take them and put them in our pond, you know, at home.
This is one of the nicer houses on
This was
record.
this was a very nice house.
And by pond, I mean our bathtub.
Yeah. No, we had a pond in the backyard. This was the best house we ever had.
Okay.
And they had paid big money for the house and so on, across from one of the nicest parks and so on.
How many bedroom, how many bath? How big was it?
Oh, it wasn't a huge house. It was just we had the side corner lot and all that. And if you drive down that street to this day, some of the houses there look like they do in Lindo in St. Louis, where you've got, you know, they had the third floor, third story dance. They didn't have that on our street. But I mean, it was that kind of a street. You know, it's where the people with money lived.
Yeah.
You know.
And it was only you and Aunt Nancy, right?
Right.
Okay. And did you all have separate rooms or?
Oh yeah, we had separate rooms.
Gotcha.
I remember that I had a closet. Then the closet had a door, and it went into, like, you know, the, what do you call it, the attic, kind of thing. You know, and that was a great
Cool.
secret place. Yeah. Right. Everybody knew it was there, but I didn't think anybody could ever find me in there. You know?
What was the first TV show you remember watching?
First TV show I remember watching. Oh, anyhow, I can't think of the name, but I would literally set my dates on Sunday night late enough that I could see that before. It was that important to me.
Childhood friends, who'd you have?
Most of my friends at that point were from school, and I would have kids come and stay over the weekend with me, or I would go stay over the weekend with them. You know, that kind of thing.
I
So.
wonder what they thought with all the moving of the houses and everything.
Every time they
Was
come
that
visit,
weird?
you were in a new house.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to see my latest house?
Yeah.
I got a new yard.
What was your favorite thing to do as a kid?
Favorite thing to do? I guess it was make money.
Yeah.
You know, I tell the story, and it's true. You know, I went to my father at age 11, and I said, you know, all my friends are getting. I was in boarding school at that point. And I'm saying all my friends are getting an allowance, and I feel like I should have some money of my own to spend. You know, because every time I wanted a quarter, I had to go to somebody and get a quarter. And he agreed with me, and so the next day he came home and he got me a job. So I'd have my own money.
You're like, not exactly what I was.
You know what a walkathon is? Where they dance forever and until they fall down and then they're out of it? Okay, they were doing walkathons there.
Okay.
And our business sponsored a couple at the walkathon all the time, and we used to go there all the time. And I sold popcorn and cotton candy there.
Okay.
You know, and then in the summertime, the same guy, Arthur Flickinger, had a Dairy Queen at the entrance of an amusement park on South Broadway. And so people would buy as they came in and as they came out, and I worked in there making, you know, sundaes and all that kind of stuff.
What was your hourly wage?
Oh, Lord, I don't remember, but it wasn't bad. I mean, because I could do what I wanted to do. You know, it was used, but I bought my own first car. You know, I bought a motor scooter long before I bought a car. It was never a good one. It was, you know, what, you push a day, ride a day, push another day, ride another day.
Well, how old were you when you bought your first car?
I bought my first car probably 18, I guess.
All right. What kind of car was it?
It was like a 48 Pontiac, and that would have been in 54, 55.
All right. Gotcha. I assume no power steering.
No. Those things still
didn't exist.
Didn't exist at that time.
I'm sure automatic windows and a moonroof.
No.
Seat warmers.
But it was a four-door sedan, you know, and because my first car was a Pontiac, not a Firebird, I can't think what they call it, but it was a muscle car. The first car I bought was a Pontiac muscle car, the first new car I ever bought, and it was bright red.
Okay.
And I had it for a week, and was driving with a girlfriend down the highway, just taking a ride at night like you want to do with a new car. And I was going about 60, and the guy passed me doing 80, but he failed to change lanes, so he walked right up the back end, pushed me off into a tree, so on and so forth. Took 2.5 months to get the car back because they had just introduced the car and they didn't have parts distributed yet, so it took a long time to get it back.
Are you okay?
Yeah, weren't hurt, just just did damage to the car.
Yeah.
And so I got it back, and I had it back for just a couple of weeks, and I was headed from St. Louis to DeSoto as part of a funeral procession to bury my grandfather, my dad's father. And somebody coming the other way thought they saw something, they hit their brakes, lost control, and wiped out the side of the car. I said, it's my last red car. They aim at that thing, But that was my first new car, and it wasn't a good experience.
When did you first drive a car? Did you drive it with your dad at all? Or no?
You mean did I drive with him?
Yeah, when you were younger.
No, my father always bought junkers.
Yeah.
He always bought junkers. He had a good friend that he drank with all the time that owned an auto repair shop. And so he hung out there all the time. And so he'd get these junkers, and they'd keep them running and what have you. And I didn't want that, because you could never depend on that.
Yeah.
And so, I bought my own first car. He helped me pick it out, but I bought my own first car, and it wasn't a junker. It was a decent car.
All right. Back to school. So when you were in high school, what was your favorite subject or subjects?
Hard to say. When I went to Cleveland High School, I worked half a day, went to school half a day. They had a program there for doing that. So there was no favorite, at that point. When I was in St. Louis University, I just loved anything the Jesuits taught. I was in love with the way the Jesuits teach.
Which was Socratic method, right?
I'm not sure what Socratic method
like
is.
Like it's a discussion. It asks for feedback
Exactly.
and it asks questions. And
exactly. And they involved you in the learning process. There was no sitting there falling asleep or any of that. That's why I made the decision to go to St. Louis U as opposed to Washington University, which was equally accessible to me. But
because they had Jesuits.
Yeah, but as it turned out, the only thing you could get Jesuits for was you would get your logic, you would get your religion classes, that sort of thing. That's all you got them for. At the same time, I felt like it worked out great because my law professor for business law was a practicing lawyer. And so their technique, and the same was true of my accountant who was a CPA and so on, they were all practicing people. And so you would go through the book, they would have you read the book, but then the classes were always based upon what was in that chapter, but how it is in real life in business, how does that get used,
That's cool.
And so I always thought that was the greatest education you could ever have.
Did your family ever go on vacation when you were a kid?
No.
No vacation.
No, we didn't know.
Not with you.
We didn't know what vacation was. Well, I guess I considered, like I have a few pictures of me on a stuffed buffalo and me on a stuffed this or stuffed that,
Yeah.
That was going on a trip with my mother when she had to go to Colorado for something, and we'd find a half a day for me to ride a buffalo, that kind of thing. But we never, as a family, never went on vacation.
Gotcha. Did you go through, so you went through the whole Catholic confirmation process and all that stuff?
I did.
Yeah. And how long were you a practicing Catholic? And by practicing, I mean actually going to Mass. Because everybody says they're Catholic and they're Easter and Christmas Catholics.
That counts.
Well, first of all, my family, they're Catholic as far back as you go. They were, you go back in history, and they were all French, and all French were Catholics. At that time. And so they were always Catholic. And most of them, I think, were twice a year Catholics, that kind of thing. my parents forced my sister and I to go to church every Sunday. They did not go, but they forced us to go every Sunday. We walked to church, didn't walk back.
It's really going to make you
know?
love going to church.
And they set the example, of course,
Exactly.
by going Christmas and Easter.
Yeah.
And the same was true of my grandparents. And so the only ones that I know that were truly religious Catholics were Uncle George and Aunt Frank.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only ones that stayed practicing Catholics all their life. I came out of all of that not as a non-believer. I still consider myself a Catholic, and I believe in the Catholic religion. I just don't believe in the organization.
Yeah.
You know,
So when you say you still believe in the Catholic religion and you consider yourself a Catholic,
I believe what the Catholic Church believes.
got it. Yeah. So I mean, whether it's Protestant or Catholic, it's
Right.
just generally, yeah, I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've always believed, you know, that there's more than one. I shouldn't say it that way. It's not that way. What is that for, Reen? You felt we didn't have any background sound? Anyhow, I have always believed that, you know, the Indian people and the Lutherans and you name them,
Yeah.
It's all the same God. They believe different things about that God, but that essentially we all believe in, you know, somebody that created all this and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Except for
And
the
I do
Scientologists. Everybody but the Scientologists.
Well, Scientologists believe he's still walking the earth. No, I'm sorry, he died now. Who's the guy?
Hubbard?
Hubbard,
L.
yeah.
Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard, yeah. L. Ron finally died, but, you know.
Yeah. So whenever you were younger, what did you see yourself doing when you got older?
I didn't
for
know.
profession?
I didn't know, and I think I was smart about that. I recognized earlier than I think most people I knew that as people came out of college, 90% of them didn't do what they went to college for.
Mm-hmm.
And I really approach it from a standpoint of, you know, I'm going to college to learn how to learn. And in fact, because I worked the whole time I went to college, I could put that into practice,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I did very well. I mean, I started with International Shoe. They never paid well, but I got promoted and promoted and promoted and did more things and got to do more things than I'd have ever done. I traveled a great deal.
What was your first position with International Shoe?
Well, my first position was in merchandising, and I was an assistant to merchandising. It was kind of a
And International, they were a shoe manufacturer or distributor?
manufacturers, and they were, in fact, the world's largest manufacturer of footwear
Gotcha.
in the world.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Based out of St. Louis?
based out of St. Louis, and they owned Florsham out of Chicago,
Yeah.
and they owned a lot of other brands, you know. And I worked in the merchandising department for Joyce women's shoes, which was a big brand at the time. I don't even know if they exist anymore.
Sounds
but-
familiar, actually.
Yeah, and then they had Red Cross shoes, which were running and jumping shoes for old women.
Mm-hmm.
And the nuns wore Red Cross shoes, but not patent, no patent leather. But-
Okay, so you did merch for them.
so I did merchandising, but
What do you
then
mean? Like buying the right quantity?
determining what shoes to stock. They went out with a line of shoes and they sold them to the customers.
Yeah.
And then you had to decide ahead of time what was going to be a good seller and what wasn't, and how good and how bad. And you had to determine how much of this are we going to put money into to stock it and that kind of thing. Okay. And I did that. And I guess I did that well because I got promotions and so on. But then they came to me one day and they said they had a thing called merchant service where they provided extra services to dealers that may not have had enough background to really own their own stores. They had the money now to own them, but didn't really have the background. So they would send people out to help them. Like they asked me if I was interested in doing, setting up promotions for them. And I did. I created a whole volume of promotions to use for Easter and Christmas and all that kind of thing. And then went to the advertising department and worked out advertising for it and radio spots and all that kind of thing. And so then they started having me travel working with dealers doing that. And again, then I started traveling.
Is that what turned into ad buying and all that kind of stuff that you did for
Well, yes. They got bought out by a company called Interco in St. Louis, which was a conglomerate. And they began dissolving the company, selling the factories off and all that kind of thing, you know. And so we also had a problem at that point that Spain was getting big in leather.
Mm-hmm.
And so Spanish leathers were all the thing for women. And so the shoe business was kind of caving in, sort of what happened to the automobile business and a lot of others. So anyhow, I decided that I needed to leave there. And so I left and went to U.S. Shoe in Cincinnati. And I was there for 5 years. And they began buying sporting goods companies, things like that. And I thought, this industry is just going to hell, so I need to get out of here. So I went with Ethan Allen. And I hired on, and in all these cases, I was in the advertising department.
How did you get that job with Ethan Allen? Do you know somebody over there?
No, but they were looking for someone to do promotions and that's what I had done in the end with International Shoe, and it's what I did for 5 years at U.S. Shoe.
Just because I'm curious, I mean, my job search efforts, anytime you want to find a job, is go online. So, I mean, how did you even know that there was an open position over at Ethan
You would
Allen?
find the time at the shoe markets when you traveled to quietly go interview with other companies.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
That's the way you
And
did
how
it.
would they even know that you were looking to interview?
Oh, you would make contacts
didn't?
ahead of time with their department with letters and so on, and you'd give them your background and that. If they were interested in you, they'd say, well, are you going to market this September? And I'd say yes, and they'd say, okay, let's meet at such and such.
People
time.
communicated before the internet.
No,
That's
no,
right.
I'm just curious. Because even before the internet, if I wanted to find a job, I'd look in the newspaper and the classifieds. Well, I doubt Ethan Allen's running classified ads saying we need someone in high-level advertising.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
that's right.
Huh.
And so anyhow, I went with Ethan Allen, and I guess I'm guessing now, but about 3 or 4 years after I went with Ethan Allen, guess who bought him?
Oh, God.
Interco.
No, shut up.
I'm back working for the same people again, right? And they're the ones that had started dissolving International Shoe,
Yeah.
okay?
And it's a matter of time.
And they started to do the same thing to Ethan Allen.
Yeah.
Ethan Allen at that time designed and produced all of their own merchandise. They would design lamps. They would go to Italy and get all the parts, bring them back, and assemble them in the U.S. But they designed the lamps and they had the parts made and all that. They went to India and they designed rugs and had people making rugs in India for them and so on. So they did all their own stuff. So they had plants that could make upholstery and furniture, case goods, and all this other stuff. And they began selling off that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The owner at that time, the one who had started the business and built the business,
Owner of
Ethan Allen.
Okay.
Yeah, he went back in and bought it back, and so to this day they have it back.
Yeah.
You know? But I wound up working for the same person.
Yeah. Well,
But meanwhile, being at Ethan Allen, they wound up when the original owner was ready to retire. He had a guy from India. What was his name?
Farouk
Farooq Kathwari,
Yeah.
who became president. The first problem was he couldn't speak English.
Yeah.
Okay.
Difficult to run an American government.
But he had been the guy that had helped import all of this stuff that they needed for Ethan Allen. So he was very close to the owner, Nat Ansell. And Nat liked his business acumen, and today he's still in charge of that business. But anyhow, he and I had real problems. I was the director of the advertising department at that time, and we went through 3 agencies in a year because he couldn't understand anything they said. Ethan Allen's biggest problem at the time was people came to them and they wanted to buy a room of furniture, but if they needed lamps or rugs, they didn't come to them just for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so the goal was to get people to come when they needed anything to Ethan Allen. So,
this is the advertising slogan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
yeah, and we came up with a campaign, Ethan Allen, for the little things. And it was something you could play off in many, many different ways, you know. And he threw out the agency for that idea again, you know. And I said, he and I are never going to think alike. I got to get out of here. That's when I went home and said to Mom, you know, I'm either going to have a heart attack or we're going to leave.
Yeah.
You know? And we decided to leave, and we started our own business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's how we got into our own business. You know, and they did not want to put us in Evansville, Indiana, because they wanted bigger markets. They were just starting out.
And when you say they, you're talking about Expressions.
Talking about Expressions. They were a franchise.
And so why did you go with the Expressions as opposed to any other franchise? You already knew the furniture business, I guess, right?
We knew the furniture business. Well, yeah, we wanted to buy the Ethan Allen Gallery, but we knew ahead of time before we went there. We knew that we weren't going to get to buy it. The owner of the Ethan Allen Gallery had two sons, but they were kind of
Evansville.
In Evansville, they were into drugs and all that sort of thing. And this day they wanted to be in that business. The next day they didn't want anything to do with it, and so on and so forth. And I knew him very well because I called on that particular store, and so we talked to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, he was interested." And then not long before we left, he said, "No, my boys have come back and they want to be in the business."
Mm-hmm.
We had a good friend who was a dealer that had 7 Ethan Allen galleries in Iowa. And he said to us, "You need to look at Expressions. It's a new franchise, but it's really great." And it really was. It was like Ethan Allen, but much more, I won't say contemporary, because it was anything. It was cutting edge. And unlike Ethan Allen, where they redo a store every 10 years, you redid it every year.
Yeah.
So you had the latest looks and all that. And it wasn't just rooms of furniture sitting there. We built walls between these rooms, and we had them. I mean, you'd feel like you're walking into a jungle or you're walking into this or that. We really did it right. Mm-hmm. And I say we, I mean Expressions did it right. That was the concept. And so we decided we would do that. They didn't want us to go to Evansville because they wanted us to be in a bigger market, but we wanted to go back, have you back with grandparents and all that. That's what we decided we wanted to do. And so we did that. And for the first 2 years, we were in the top 5 stores every week.
What was your buy-in for the Expressions franchise?
The buy-in was $50,000.
Okay.
And we had an interesting story there too. We had 2 houses in Connecticut because that was in a growing real estate market. And one of the houses, the house that we lived in on the lake, we bought that, and we sold it for, I don't know, a huge profit. But meanwhile, we had moved to another house in Brookfield. And when we bought it, I don't remember the price, but we sold it 9 months later for twice what we had paid for it. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it put us in a very good financial position. You know, we went to Evansville and we said to the bank, we don't need any money, but we'd like you to be our bank. And so on. They said, well, we can't help you, There's enough furniture stores in this town. We don't need another furniture store.
Yeah.
That's what they told
So we went to another bank, and they said, "Well, the only way we can do business with is if you take a loan." So they made us take out what's the federal loan?
Yeah, the SBA loan.
SBA loan. They made us take an SBA loan, which meant we had to go through the trouble of reporting figures and all that kind of thing. But we did that for 3 years and paid it off, and then we were done with them. But anyhow, we went into the business, and it was easy to do.
And what support did Expressions provide for the business?
Expressions provided tremendous merchandising support. We would go to what they called the market. They would shop ahead of time with a lot of vision, and they would know what the hot trends were going to be. Mm-hmm. They would put together all kinds of looks. We would go into the market, and we had the decision-making ability to say, this won't go in our market, this will go in our market. And so we could redesign our store the way it should be for our market. Mm-hmm. On the opposite side, they wanted Ethan Allen people because they wanted people that knew how to operate by offering decorating service along with, because that's a very difficult thing that people still work hard at today and don't accomplish very well. Mm-hmm. And we knew how to do that, not just we, but Ethan Allen people knew how to do that. So they wanted Ethan Allen people, so they took us. But the house that we made the big money on, there was a fall through on the thing and a delay on it, and we were supposed to pay $50,000 to the franchise.
Yeah.
And so the owner of the franchise stepped up and said, "I'll put up your $50,000." And we paid him back $51,000. And that was like 3 months later. Yeah. But I mean, the franchise would come and say, "We'll pay your franchise fee for now." Awesome. They wanted us,
Yeah.
And in fact, they did take a lot of ideas. I mean, Mom did a lot of what she called vertical merchandising, where you couldn't expand your store, but you could do things that would let you, show things, more things. And they came in, and that wasn't right. That was all wrong because it wasn't Expressions.
Mm-hmm.
And next year they presented
Yeah.
All this
vertical merchandising to everybody, so.
They copied us.
You're right. But we got a great deal from them. And they didn't do like a lot of franchises. They didn't control us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we paid them a fee. It was a reasonable fee. They sent designers in twice a year. We would go to market to buy our stuff. And then at a certain time, that stuff would all come in, and then a team of 2 designers would come in, and they would actually do all the physical work. We would actually do it in 2 days. We'd take all of our stuff out of the store, put it on the sidewalk,
Wow.
bring back what we needed, decorate it, so on and so forth. The warehouse would come and pick up the stuff we weren't using and take it away. I mean, in 2 days, that store looked like a brand new store,
That's cool.
which is not anything they do today.
Oh yeah.
And Ethan Allen's still out there redoing their store every 10 years.
And I forgot, is Expression still around?
No, they're not. They were bought several times,
Mm-hmm.
but they had something unique, which was they could do anything in a sofa custom in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And
That was the legs could be different, the arms.
you could pick the arm, the leg, you could build your own, you know, but they also had a ton of designs that you could pick from, and you could pick your own fabric. We had the fabric rods on the wall. We probably had, 1,000 fabrics, and they could come in and look at the fabrics, take one home and lay it over their sofa and see what it was going to look like in their room and all that kind of thing. It was a very unusual way of doing business.
Yeah, I've never seen any furniture store that you go to. I mean,
They have fabric samples.
yeah, Expressions. The walls were bolts of fabric
When you walk-
everywhere.
When you walk
yeah.
in, it said high fashion.
Yeah.
And originally they had bolts of fabric, but they almost killed a lot of customers, so they went to having the 2-yard piece.
Yeah, the rods.
Yeah, it just
I
looks
remember.
like, yeah.
I remember putting those things up with that tool. If it was
Right.
a bolt, oh
Yeah.
my god!
Right.
You might not be here.
Right.
That's right.
But anyhow, that's how we got to Expressions.
Yeah, and so why ultimately did you all shut down Expressions?
Well, primarily because of Grandma,
Yeah.
I think. Grandpa had passed away. Grandma needed to get out of that. She was having her blood problems and all, and getting
And you mean
transfusions.
mom's parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Vera was getting transfusions every day of blood cells or
Blood platelets, right?
blood platelets,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And very difficult, you know. And it was hard for us too because we couldn't take care of her during the day and all that. So we decided it was time to just.
You left town.
Mm-hmm.
It was time to forget it. And you had gone. You had gone to college.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I think
Yes,
the
you have.
timeline's a little off.
No, it's
No,
not.
before I left for college, I was helping you all shut down the store, and we were doing the final fire sale of the store before I ever left for Bowling Green.
Right, I
Was
know,
it
but
right
you were.
before?
But the point
Yeah,
being, you
yeah.
were leaving immediately.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
that's true.
I mean, we didn't leave
Yeah.
you sitting in
No.
Evansville, Indiana,
At 16 years old.
on a corner. You know, I mean,
Good luck,
But you're an
kid.
orphanage.
right.
Aw.
But anyhow, we had looked at where we wanted to go,
Mhm.
and we felt we needed to go, and we thought it was probably west with Grandma because that would, you know, and in fact it turned out to be true, as you know. She overcame the platelet thing. She had remission.
Yeah.
And we could be outside every day. We could sit on the porch and all that, so she could really enjoy it, you know. Of course, she only lasted 2 to 2.5 years after we
Is
got
that
there.
really?
Yeah.
That's all?
Yeah, that's all.
That's a lot, honey.
Wow.
Yeah,
How old
because
is
she was.
86.
Yeah, but she had lost a lot of memory and all that before we went, which is part of why we decided we had to either put her in somewhere, which is the last thing we wanted to do, or we had to do something where we could take care of her, you know. And we did some things like having people look in on her and so on, but we couldn't really have somebody take care of her, you know, 24/7. So anyhow, so we decided, and we went online looking for places to retire. And Mom knew she wasn't going to retire, but you know, we called that retirement, and we wanted to be out west.
Only you could call working retirement.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, I wasn't very old. You know.
Yeah, no, I
Right.
know, but I mean,
I, of course, was ready to retire. Yeah, I said, I'll
Been
take care.
working since you were 15.
I'll take care of Grandma. You know,
Working in
I'll take care of
factories.
Grandma.
I was gonna say, how many years ago was that? So you were gonna retire when I was 18. I'm 33 now.
That's right, and I retired 2 years ago. Semi. Anyhow.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we went online, and one of the best places to retire, they told us 3 places. It asked you questions like, do you want water? Do you, how's your allergy situation, that kind of thing. They came back and said, you ought to be in Texas, New Mexico, or Arizona. We didn't want to be in Arizona. Any place that can be 127 degrees, I don't want to be anywhere near it.
Yeah.
Texas, we don't like the look of Texas.
No.
We just really don't care for it. We didn't know anything about New Mexico. I had traveled there a few times to work with Ethan Allen dealers, but it was like fly in, work with them a day, fly out at night to somewhere else. So I never really saw anything, and certainly none of the country. So we decided, and we had the story yet, we decided to vacation there, and we took 3 weeks, and we just toured all of New Mexico. Fell in love with Las Cruces, and that's where we went.
You were surprised when you got back because the store had not burned down during your absence, I'm sure.
That's right. That's right. Well, we ostensibly went on vacation at that point. The people in the store did not know that we were looking for a place to retire.
I still remember that was
Yeah.
like on the hush-hush as to why you were gone for
It
so
was,
long.
and only one person reacted really unfavorable to it, and that was our manager.
Yeah.
She reacted very unfavorably, but we tried to treat her very good up front.
Yeah.
And she had an opportunity to make a lot of money when we closed the store, because we made a lot of money on the closing of the store. And she wouldn't work. She sat and played on her phone the whole time. So we didn't give her some of the benefits we had planned to give her. She did it herself.
That's Ruth, right?
That's Ruth, right?
Lovely.
Yeah. But I mean, we were tired of the store at that point, having to hire and train and all that. And we required a great deal of training for them to be, they had to have a design background, but we had to train them to do it the way we wanted it done. And we trained them for 6 weeks and paid them before we'd ever put them on the floor. And if they could make a nickel more somewhere, they'd go to another person down the street who loved to have them because they had all of our training. And so that was a constant thing, trying to find people and good people and so on and so forth. So it was just time. And Mom said, I can do something else out there when we get there. So we got out to New Mexico. Mom waited 9 months, stayed home with Grandma and I, and then she got a job.
Working for the Mormons.
Working for the Mormons in a tile store.
Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses in a tile
Oh
store.
my.
And she worked there for a year, and then they did her in because she wasn't Jehovah's Witness, and they cheated her out of $10,000. 1 month they put her on delivered instead of written, meaning they don't pay you when you write the business. They wait till it's delivered and pay you.
Yeah.
And then after they did that, they then let her go.
Well,
so now they didn't owe her the money on what she had written, so she lost $10,000.
Do you remember how they let her go? That's my favorite. Is that she showed up to the office and her office door was locked? They're like, you don't work here anymore.
No, the front door.
Front door was
They
locked.
changed.
Yeah, they
keys.
changed all the locks.
Keys,
Because
right.
I told them that that's what we did at Expressions. I swear to God, and I put the key in, and I thought, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I went,
I'm getting my comeuppance.
I know what
I know this
happened.
move.
Yeah. But anyhow, that all worked out. So then,
I
This
just took
is-
all the clients with me.
she had developed a lot of people that were impressed with her work and all that kind of thing. And she wound up doing something she hadn't really done much of before, and that was working with the builders.
Yeah.
And they always get a client. Somebody wants to build a house with them, so they would put her to work with Mom. Mom would end up finding out how they live and how that house should really be arranged. But she also upgraded them on a lot of stuff,
And
so they
so-
made more money from it.
So what did you do during that time period?
Well, I took care of Grandma, and when that was done, I didn't do much of anything.
My billing.
I did the billing for the business now, which I always had to do, But we didn't have a storefront, so I didn't have, all these bills to pay and all that kind of. So it was easier, But then when Mom had the accident, then I had to drive her everywhere she went. That was sit out in the desert for 8 hours a day in the car with the engine running, while she's in there working with clients, because there's no store to go to, there's no coffee shop, there's no.
And I think that's what was probably particularly rough about New Mexico, right? That if it was any other town,
Yeah, if you find
If it was
just
a
pop to different.
if it was a city
bookstore.
that you lived in, you could just pop to a bookstore, or you could go around the corner from wherever she was. But when you're in the mountains working on a resort, or when you're wherever the hell you are in New Mexico,
We
nothing
drove an hour and 15 minutes
to get there.
to-
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, and you never knew how long she was going to be. You could
Yeah.
never estimate that. It's like anything else. You know, when you plan deliveries,
Mhm.
invariably they'll always say, "Well, while you're here, could you move this over here and that over there?" So the deliveries are never on time. You know,
Yeah.
it's the same with that. While you're here, I need to ask you about this window because I'm thinking about doing this in the future. So
It made for more business.
Oh, sure.
yeah, but that was a particularly tough time. You know,
Okay.
and. So, you know, Mom couldn't drive anymore, and so that's just the way it had to be, and it was that way for what, 3-4 months?
Yeah. And so, so circling back around to, you said you were married at 19, divorced a year later from somebody, and then how did you meet Pat?
Pat and I met at work,
Mhm.
you know, and
International shoe?
no, at where was I at the time? I can't say I remember where.
Okay.
It was in the 60s, you
Mhm.
know, but I can't remember where I was at the time. We moved to Cincinnati together to USU, so I had to have been with International Shoe when we started.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to Cincinnati for 4 years for USU, and then back to St. Louis again. So, I mean,
So why to Cincinnati and then back to St. Louis?
Well, Cincinnati was when I tried USU.
Gotcha.
And I was there 4 years, and that's when I decided, you know, they're starting to buy up all kinds of stuff, and they're not going to be a shoe company anymore, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got a job with Ethan Allen, they were looking for people who could go out and help the dealers with advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the country broken into 5 regions. And so they needed somebody in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was from St. Louis. I had all the background to do that.
Might as well go back.
And that's when I would go into a dealer, and the first day I would work out a budget, get all his sales estimates and all that kind of thing, and work out an advertising budget. I would contact the media and have appointments set for the next day for them to come in with the television availabilities and all that and so on. And then I would negotiate the media for the thing and place the orders and all that. Most of them didn't know anything about doing any of that.
Yeah. Did you have Todd and Lisa whenever you lived in St. Louis, or when you were in Cincinnati?
No, we had them in St. Louis before we went to Cincinnati, so they were in Cincinnati,
Yeah.
and then back to St. Louis again.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Okay.
and they went to public schools all the way through.
Yeah.
You know, and
What are some good times with Todd and Lisa when they were kids?
well, there were a lot of good ones, I felt, because I was gone during the week, which was a bad thing. I was doing the same thing my parents had done. Okay, except to me, the difference was I came home and I spent the weekend with them every weekend doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't go play golf. I didn't do any of that. Everything was with the kids. You know, and with Pat. You know. So, I mean, it's just all kinds of stuff. And we did travel some. I mean, I had dealers that would pay me to go to Florida to analyze their markets and do stuff like that. And they'd put us up on their golf course house, you know, while we spent a week there doing that kind of thing, you know. So
You went to Sawgrass.
you went to Sawgrass and,
Yeah.
and watched the kids swim with alligators, digging for balls, you know, not tennis balls,
Golf
but
balls.
golf
Yeah.
balls. But anyhow, so there were a lot of good times there. We went to Disney World. We went to the I forget what year it was, 79, I guess, the World's Fair in Tennessee.
Oh, cool.
And so on, you know.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of those kind of things, you know, and I love to do that kind of stuff. And, you know, then Mom and I decided to get married. We had worked together for a long time. We decided to get married, and I decided because of the problems there that I'd be better off to be in Milwaukee and have the kids up there.
Mm-hmm.
And although I didn't see them as often, it worked out to be true.
How often did they come to Milwaukee?
I'm trying to think how many years we were in Milwaukee, too. So they probably came about 4 times. They came twice a year.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
they'd come for a week in the summertime.
And then where? Milwaukee to Evansville, or
No, Milwaukee
to
was
Connecticut, right?
no from Milwaukee to Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. And did they? How well? By the time Connecticut, they were probably getting up later on in high school? Or...
Oh, no, they came up to Connecticut.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they came up to Connecticut because I've got a lot of pictures of them on the beach and you
Yeah.
know, all that
And
kind of
holding
thing.
you as a baby.
Yeah, and holding you as a baby. When you were born,
Yeah.
you know, we were in Connecticut and they were coming up there.
Gotcha.
When the kids moved away from home, we developed a relationship. You know, and Lisa and I still talk probably twice a week. You know, a little lesser lately because she's busier right now, but we are much closer. You know, but we've still missed a great deal of each other's lives. You know, and there's no way of getting that back again.
Yeah.
So you know, I almost have no relationship with Todd. Lisa, I have a relationship with. You know, but
so what kind of lessons did you learn and carry with you from how your marriage and your relationship as a father with your kids that you had with Pat and your kids? What lessons did you learn from that to carry forward to your marriage with Mom?
let me ask you a question. Did I ever miss one of your practices?
No.
Did I ever miss one of your games?
Yeah, that's a lesson then. Sure.
That's a lesson I learned. It was to spend the time. You were the number one priority. I told myself I'm not going to have that happen again. I realized that I, in a sense, had done a lot of the same thing my parents had done. I mean, I wasn't drinking and all that kind of thing, but I was, you know, I was traveling. I was trying to make a future and all that, and that became number one priority. And, you know, I don't think that's why it fell apart, but, you know, it was a problem. And so, you know, I was very different with you. You were top priority. And that's a shame. They missed that. Yeah. You know, but that's the way it was.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, hearing you earlier talk about your mom, and you said that you harbored resentment, and because she was traveling all the time, it seems like you kind of went down that same path, right?
I did.
At least
I did.
In your first marriage with, you know, Todd and Lisa. And then, so whenever, how about not being a father? How about being a husband? What lessons did you learn from the first to this, from Pat to Mom?
It's really hard to say because they are so different. They're different people. Life with them would have to be very different.
So my question isn't how Pat and Mom are different. My question is, what lessons did you learn from the relationship you had with Pat and how that didn't work out? What lessons did you learn to carry on to have a relationship with Mom that's been successful all these years?
I don't think I learned anything.
No, nothing?
I'm serious.
Yeah.
It is so different. Pat and I did not spend time together. On the weekends, I concentrated with the kids, and she was there, but my concentration was on the kids because I felt guilty about being gone during the week, and so I spent my weekends with them. In Mom's case, for a long time, we said we spend 36 hours a day together. Because we lived together, we worked together, we did everything together, you know. And so we were very aware of what the other one was doing all the time. And so we could fit together better. And, you know, I'm a patient person, and, you know, I'm basically an agreeable person. And so I could accept we had a business, and it meant she had to do the house calls, and all of that. And so I could accept that, you know. I didn't have that opportunity to accept or not accept, you know, in the earlier marriage. So, again, it isn't that I did things differently. It's that life was different.
Yeah, sure.
And so I could be more the person I wanted to be, the father and the husband and all that kind of thing, because we were together all the time. It wasn't that way in the first marriage. You know?
And you first met Mom through Ethan Allen.
Ethan Allen.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. She was the first female rep they ever had.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
Killers.
yeah, and we worked in the same division, meaning we had the same boss in St. Louis. She lived in Milwaukee, but her boss was still in St. Louis, so we'd see each other at meetings. And then, you know, when I traveled into the stores, generally the rep would be there at the same time because they needed to be there to follow up and see if the dealer was doing what we had agreed he was going to do and that kind of thing, you know. So we got to know each other.
So I know when you worked the back end of the store and Expressions, you you paid invoices and you checked merchandise into the system and you blah, 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 blah.
Place orders. It was the back end. It was the paperwork thing.
Sure. And,
Dealt with the bank and all that.
and I recall that you didn't particularly enjoy that experience.
Last thing in my life I wanted to be was an accountant, and there I was. I was an accountant, and I hated it.
Yeah.
I really did. I hated it.
For what, 16 years or 15? I mean, a decent amount of time. Yeah.
That's right. And if it wasn't for your grandmother,
Yeah.
Mom's mother,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But we had enough fun back there
Yeah.
to go with it.
What was she doing back there?
She checked in merchandise. She unpacked merchandise. She filed invoices after I paid them, and so on and so
She
forth.
priced things.
Yeah.
She priced things to go on the floor. I have to include the story of shipping.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, please. Please.
We were in a strip center, and there was an alley behind the store, and everybody had a big trash bin going down the alley, except ours was around the corner on the side because we were the end store.
That's a big dumpster.
It was a big dumpster, and frequently I would have to pay extra to have them. I'd have so many boxes and stuff coming in, and I have to pay extra to have an extra pickup done. And suddenly somebody started throwing all their trash in my trash bin. And so one day, when I was moving the trash things, they had filled the damn thing up, and I could feel that there were letters in there. So I opened it up, and there were letters. Then it turns out it was somebody up the strip in the center. So Vera and I got together, and we packaged all that in boxes, and we shipped it to their home. Shipped all
Their
their trash to
personal
their
house?
house.
Yeah.
Shipped all their trash to their house.
Oh my gosh, that's
And,
great.
oh, I would have loved to have had a camera that opened up the trash. But it was the last we saw of the trash.
You should have wrapped it in wrapping paper. That would have been too mean.
Well, so I went down that path. I mean, so you went from ad buying and media and advertising to working in the back end of a store.
Well, I also went from traveling
yeah.
for a living to sitting in a little cubicle.
Did you like traveling?
I love traveling. I did things in my life that I could never have done. When I was in the shoe business, life was different with the government then. You could expense everything off for entertainment.
That's before it was
so
50% of your meals and entertainment.
Exactly.
Full amount.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had a job. I was
Mad Men, basically.
Yes. I was in advertising. I had a job as the head of the field group. They would expect me when we would go to market to entertain clients. And so we always had a room upstairs where everybody went in for cocktails afterwards, and then we'd kind of split them up and take them, out to different places. I mean, I'd go into Chicago. I'd go into every year, twice a year. I went into Chicago. I went to Atlanta. I went to New York. I went to San Francisco. Where else? I don't know. But I went to all these places for a week at a time, and every night I was out with 6 or 8 people. And I'd pick what Broadway shows do I want to see, what bars do I want to. Man, I knew the bars in Chicago like the back of my hand, the ones that had entertainment, London House and all that stuff. I mean, I could never have done those things on my own money, and I had all those experiences, which was just absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
The travel part of it was not wonderful because I never stayed anywhere that I could have days to go see or do
stuff.
anything. I mean, I traveled all my life to Chicago, and I couldn't tell you how to get around. I took a cab to wherever I went.
Yeah.
So that part of it wasn't good. But it was also nice not to be in an office all the time. That part of the travel aspect was good.
So why the change from that career path and what you were doing there to working at the back end of the store?
Well, when we decided to open the store, I mean, we had seen a lot of Ethan Allen galleries fail because of the husband-wife relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it was the husband that had some background in home furnishings, and a wife, in a few cases, was a designer, but in most cases wasn't.
Or if they were a designer, they were a designer in name only.
Well, she was a housewife, but she suddenly became the head designer in the store, in charge of all the real designers.
Oh,
okay?
It's a recipe for disaster.
A lot of stores failed because of that kind of a thing. We watched all of that, and we decided that in our own business, we were going to make a list of all the jobs to be done: merchandising, advertising, sales training, display, all of that. And then we decided who was going to do what job. and we never stepped on each other's toes. We prided ourselves, salespeople, you pardon the expression, are like children. They'll come in, and if mom says no, they'll come ask dad.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Or whoever will give them the easiest answer, they'll go to them. I would always answer. If they came to me and wanted to know if they could have a day off, I'd always say, I got to talk to Maureen. She handles the floor schedule. Or if they'd come in and talk about getting more base pay to her, she'd send them back to me. That's Ben's area. You have to talk to Ben. We never stepped on each other's toes. We didn't go home at night and ever talk about business. We had a breakfast once a week, and I filled her in on what was happening. It was wonderful.
That's awesome.
We would, once a week, I'd talk about what's going on in the back end. I'm having a little trouble paying the bills now, or, we're going to have to really work hard next month to make the month, or whatever it may be. And she would tell me what's going on the floor and that kind of thing, And if somebody needed to be fired, it was her job to decide if they needed to be fired and to fire them. Well, it shouldn't be mine.
Yeah.
She's the one to best address why they're not doing the job they're supposed to be doing,
So I guess you took the back end of the store job because it was the job that had to be done.
Well,
right?
yeah, and I started to say it's because we didn't want to make the same mistake. We'd also seen a lot of people that had accountants that stole them blind, and it could go on for years, and they didn't catch it,
Sure.
So we didn't want any of that, and I didn't know enough about keeping the back end of a business. I had to learn, and their computers were just coming in when we did that.
Oh, yeah.
So I did all the bookkeeping by hand, but I felt that's the way to know what's going on. And then little by little, I learned to create a database, and then I got somebody out of town to help me learn how to take this database and make it
Do
reports, And then ultimately they came out with accounting systems that you could apply to small business, and I did that. But no, it was never the kind of thing I wanted. But there was no room. I'd sit down and do the advertising in one day for the next 6 months, and I'm done. I bought the media, I did everything, nothing left to do. Yeah. And I didn't feel I could take that one day, do my job, and say, okay, I'll be back in 6 months, like I did the dealer. So.
Gotcha.
And it made sense. We didn't play games with it. When we first started, I took a very low salary. Mom took no salary, which meant she had to live on her sales commission.
Yeah.
When we left that business after 19 years, I was earning the same pay that I had earned when we first started the business. I never increased it. Well, at the point when you went to college and I turned 62, I went to our accountant and I said, should I make any change here? And she said, well, if Matthew's going to college, you can get a deduction for him, not a deduction.
It was before. It was before I turned 18. You got
up
Social
until
Security
18, right?
From age, because you turned 62 when I was 15 or something, and so you got 3 years of Social Security money
of $900 a month.
I know.
And she said it'd take you a long time to beat that.
And I forgot you gave me a little bit, or you did something with it for me. I forgot what it was.
Well, no, we put some in investment for you.
Yeah,
and later blew it, but ours blew with it. But anyhow, so I just never felt, that I needed to take money out. To me, it wasn't a question of whether she earns it or I earn it or any of that. So I just never changed it.
So if you would have done anything else for a profession in your life, what would it have been other than advertising and working the back end of the store?
I'd have probably stayed in advertising because I started back in the shoe company creating retail promotions for the stores, and I did it very well to the point that that's where my career path went.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I was going to ask you. When did you realize you were artistic?
Back in grade school. No, but I won the art contest back then.
So
I used to
a
paint a lot, I haven't for years and years. I haven't painted for years and years. But, my Uncle George was a commercial artist for a while, and I used to go over to my grandmother's every once in a while and sit down with him, and he would teach me to paint. So I had some of that encouragement in school. When art was available, I always took art, that sort of thing. So I enjoyed it, but I never thought of it as a career. But it was by accident that I got into creating promotions for the stores. And then in so doing, I began working with the advertising department, learning the ropes of all of that, and it just went from there. But it's back to the original thing of, get out of college, you don't know what the hell you're going to do, unless you're actually going to be a doctor or a lawyer where you have to specialize. But most people who go to college, there's nothing to say you're going to even like what you do. We had more people we hired that would go to night school to become an interior designer, spend 5 years in night school, get a job, and with us, and say, "Oh, I don't even do anything like this." Or
I'm a salesman.
Or they'd say, "I'm going on a house call. Where's my crew?" Crew? They want the pictures hung. You hang the pictures.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a crew. You know.
Where's my crew?
You show Matt. There's a
That's
7-year-old.
real, Matthew. That's very real. We had that happen on more than one occasion. They thought it's like TV. We got 7 people who walk in. We turn this
Like
place overnight.
HGTV.
No, it doesn't work that way. Takes a lot longer.
So talk to me a little bit about the military. I know you were in the military police, right?
I was in the military police when I was in high school. They wanted
Gotcha.
to build the military, and so they were accepting you at a younger age.
I always wondered why you didn't have like military benefits and all this stuff. It's because you were kind of like a what are they called now?
Well, I'll tell you.
What does Joe does,
I'll explain it to you. But
Reservist.
No, not a reservist. It's in high school. It's a thing now where you're the.
Oh.
it's not ROTC.
That's ROTC.
No, it was nothing like that.
Okay.
Nothing. ROTC is a training program that goes on in the school.
Yeah.
This was not.
Gotcha.
I actually went to. We had real police from World War, real military police from World War II and so on.
Oh,
It was a military
Was it
police
just
unit.
after the war ended?
No, that was this was in the 50s.
Yeah.
In the mid 50s, and the war ended in
43 or 42.
42 to 45, I think it was.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it was real military. Okay, but they were concerned about what was going on in the world, and so they wanted to start early military training. They came out with a deal that said that and we were already in the military at that point, in the reserve unit.
You were in the reserve.
I was in it, but with Jim Galati and Bob Worsham and friends of mine. There were like 6 or 7 of us that were good friends. And we'd go up in the summer, we'd spend a week at the Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, and all that sort of thing as military police and so on, part of our training. Then I went to, when I got out of high school, I went to Fort Leonard Wood and took my basic training. And from there I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia, and went through the military police school. And then I was obliged to do 6 months of active duty. And then I would have 7.5 years of reserve after that. And I'd already done 3, I think. So I would have had like 5.5 years to do. Well, when I came out, nothing was going on, and I went to reserve for another year, and I got a letter that said, "We don't really need you."
We're still on a high after
Take
finishing
off
the last
somewhere.
war.
That's right, take off.
Until next time.
We're going to use all missiles in the next war. We don't need foot soldiers. So anyhow, but we had a lot of fun as military police. We really enjoyed that.
You told me you got to shoot all the weapons, right?
Oh, we got trained in everything. We got trained in driving Jeeps through woods where if it wasn't any bigger than that, you just knock that sucker
It's
down.
so fun in high school to do that.
It was called real military driving.
Sure.
It was that kind of thing. And no, it was a ball, and we fired every kind of weapon you can imagine. We were trained in it. We didn't have to qualify in all of them, but they wanted us to know how to fire all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure why, because military police carried a 45. Period.
Yeah.
But
You learn how to fire a bazooka. When are they ever going to give you a bazooka?
I took out several tanks on my own. I really did, because they taught me how to fire a bazooka. But
Well, so Jim Galati, where'd you meet Jim?
Jim Galati, well, when I went to high school, because I worked half a day and went to school half a day, I never got into any of the cliques that were in. And I had played sports in grade school, baseball and so on, but I did not play sports in high school because I worked half a day and went to school half a day, or because I just wasn't that sports minded. And because I loved to go dancing and so on, I became friends with people from different schools. So one of them was Bruce Morehart, who Nancy married. One was Jim Galati, who was from Roosevelt High School. Bob Worsham, who was from Hadley Technical School,
Yeah.
but we were all living in somewhat the same area. We became good friends. We all loved to dance. We went on to the Admiral, SS Admiral, that huge boat they used to have in St. Louis, okay? And they had 3 dance decks, and you'd go on there and they'd have Arthur Murray try to sucker in people on taking dance lessons and so on, And so we're there one night and we're all dancing, and they came up and started talking to us, I guess trying to talk us into doing that, and none of us could afford it, and we said so, but they said, well, tell you what, why don't you guys form a group, and you come in every Thursday night, whatever it is, and we won't charge you, and we'll give you dance lessons, but what you're going to be doing is working with our dance teachers in training. So you'll become their students. Okay? We did that for 2 years.
Got free dance lessons for 2 years.
I could do mambos, tangos, you name it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I could do them all. So could Jim Galati, so could Bob Worsham, so
I
could
don't
everybody. And we had a lot of fun. Well, we had places in St. Louis as I grew up, like the Casa Loma Ballroom and so on. That, I can't tell you how many times I saw famous singers and so on. They all came to the Casa Loma, and the wonderful thing was, when their show was over, they'd sit down on the edge of the stage and do an extra hour and talk to you and all that kind of. It wasn't this formal thing, do it and get the hell off the stage.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. Anyone you remember?
Oh,
Big.
good Lord. Well, who's the one who's so big today? I can't think of the name now. It's so big today with the young people, and he's 125.
What?
The best.
Is he?
God.
What?
I can't think of his name. He just did an album.
Elvis?
No,
he
a
did
bunch of duets with everybody, right?
Yeah, and he did
Wait,
an
he's still
album.
alive?
Yeah.
Oh, he did an album recently
Neil
with.
Diamond?
No.
I don't know
He's
what
kind of a
it's-
loungy singer.
Yeah.
Burke Baccarat?
No.
No.
Hey,
He
you
wasn't really.
guys aren't guessing.
He did it with he did a whole album.
Tony
called,
Bennett.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tony Bennett.
That's exactly who it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Tony Bennett and all the people of his era,
Yeah.
they all came to the Casa Loma, and we could see them, we could dance and all that kind of thing. And every Friday night, we were over in Illinois at a bar, a totally black bar, watching Ike and Tina Turner before she became the Tina Turner,
Yeah.
when he was still beating her.
Yeah. Oh, he didn't stop that when she got famous.
She always wore sunglasses. We didn't
But
know.
I mean, we went there
He's
every
dead.
Friday night, and every Saturday night we went to the Casa Loma. I mean,
Yeah.
that's that was a big part of our life. So that's where Jim Galati and Bob Worsham and all of I became.
And Jim and Bob, are they in St. Louis? You're friends with Jim on Facebook, right?
I'm friends with Jim on Facebook. Last time I was in St. Louis, Jim and I had a day together,
Yeah.
and we went around to all the old places where we used to go. And
Were
so
they
on.
still there?
They're there, but they aren't exactly what they were
Yeah.
before. But I mean, down in the same area, like Cherokee Street, where the Casa Loma was, one of his sons has a specialty burger bar down there that does very unusual hamburgers and so on and so forth. I mean, he still gets into that area when he goes there. He lives in Cleveland now.
Cool.
So whenever we were talking earlier about when you worked at the back of the store and you were one of the early adopters of computers in general.
I don't know if I was really one of the early ones, but
I
it was
mean-
my first real exposure to doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember you had the dot matrix printer that did the back and forth. I mean,
Oh,
those were
yeah.
really the first kind of printers. So I
Right.
mean, I'd say you were an
Yeah.
early adopter.
Right.
So why were you an early adopter of technology?
Simply because I didn't think it made sense to keep records the way I had to keep records.
We wrote to
And I knew that it was possible to do it on the computer. I just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And we wrote a lot of business. I mean, we had a very successful business. So we wrote a lot of business, and there had to be an easier way to do it. I had trouble doing it on a day-to-day basis and keeping up with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then that had to be converted. I mean, you had to have your sales and all that stuff, and you have to do all the analysis and so on, so that mom could merchandise.
So you said that whenever you went to college, you viewed yourself as going to college as you learning how to learn.
Mm-hmm. And I still think it's that way.
Sure. So what do you what do you kind of ascribe to the fact that, I mean, you know that you're almost 80 now and you can use a cell phone and a computer better than
Me.
most other human beings. Right?
Oh, no.
You can.
A lot of people.
You can. So how do you explain that?
Because I learned how to learn on my own. I mean, I've never taken a course in Photoshop, but I learned how to learn on my own. I learned how to approach learning so that you can learn it, and even something I don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's what happened with, I don't know a damn thing about computers. As you well know, I can't take one apart. And I can't solve problems in computers, but I know how to use the programs I use because I can teach myself how to use those programs. And that's what I've done.
Have you generally always taught yourself things for the most part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, I've always viewed, that's why I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
So I could learn how to approach learning and learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to giving a lot of the credit to the kinds of teachers I had in college.
Mm-hmm.
The Jesuits and the way they approach things of questioning everything and participating in everything and not just sitting and listening to the lecture and moving on.
Mm-hmm.
And also to having the CPAs and the lawyers and that in college explain how it all fit day to day living. I mean, that's
What from when I was a kid, what was one of your best memories?
When you were a kid,
Mm-hmm.
Probably the magic, but
What, me doing magic tricks?
yeah, I mean, because you were very good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, watching you, Matthew had the pattern, and he could do the thing that's most necessary in magic. He could have you pay no attention to what the hell he was doing because you were paying attention to what he was saying.
Yeah.
And when he'd look you in
That's
the
right,
eye.
good lawyer. Pay no attention
To the man behind the curtain.
Don't watch my left hand. But I mean, we tried as you grew up. We felt like anytime you showed a continued interest in something, be that skating, hockey, be that magic, whatever it was. I mean, every time you decided you wanted to try something, we didn't go out and buy you a bunch of stuff and that sort of thing. When you decided you were interested in magic, we first bought you a couple of tricks. You got really good at those tricks, and then you studied card tricks and things like that. So we bought you more tricks. Then we started, whenever we would go to market or something, we'd bring you back tricks. And then one Christmas we were in a mall, and they had the Magician Society had a booth there, and we paid a guy to come to our house, I think it was 6 times, to teach Matthew magic tricks. And when he was done with that 6 weeks, he said to Matthew, he said, if you wanted to do this for a living, you have the ability to do that. Same was true with hockey. Matthew was going to a friend's house to stay on Saturday because our store had to be open on Saturday. We were never open on Sunday, but had to be open on Saturday. And so she would take Matthew. Well, they were of Canadian descent. By the way, I'm not sure.
They are, aren't they? Chevalier. Yeah.
I'm not sure we're not somehow connected now.
Oh, yeah?
As I look, but there's some Chevaliers in the woodpile. Anyhow, her son played hockey. So Matthew came home one day, and I guess it was his mother that said to us, he's going skating every Saturday. Would you mind if Matthew skated with him? So we took Matthew, and he seemed to enjoy it. So we did go so far as to buy the skates and all that kind of thing. But then Matthew really began, he was really interested in doing it. So we then got him some skating lessons and so on and so forth. And Matt turned out to be a really good hockey player. Now, admitted, a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Because I remember when it was at Kent State.
I don't know.
When we went to Miami of Ohio, they were the big hockey people, and we went to them.
So good.
And they looked at Matthew and they said, "Son, your father brought you here. If you didn't come with a scout, you may or may not make intramural, but you sure won't play for any teams around here." And we didn't go there expecting they were gonna, they were gonna grab him. Or
I was
anything.
good for Evansville, Indiana. And,
that's right. And you were a good player.
And I guess the reason I was good for Evansville is because, remember, they didn't have hockey rinks that were open during the summer. because it was too hot.
Right.
So it was only open during the winter. So during the summer, you just couldn't play hockey.
That's right.
There's no year-round.
Well, but we did. We took the team over and paid for extra over in Owensboro.
Yeah.
And we went to schools in the summertime in St. Louis, and the St. Louis Blues put on.
Yeah.
I would suffer through taking 6 or 8 kids with their smelly hockey bags, and we would go, and every day we would go to the hockey camp, and then all pile in the van, which I don't know how you could even with a clothespin hold your nose there, and we would go into a room at the
not the Radisson,
not the Residence Inn, where they had the lobby and all that,
and then the loft, and we all.
Right, and we'd open these 6 bags to air them out every night, and we'd live in this room for a week, and then we'd go back home again. But I mean, we sponsored a team, and so we paid for that for the team and so on. So he got more hockey than most in Evansville would get.
Yeah,
and the road teams hated him.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't go road because we couldn't go road, and we didn't want him going and us not being able to see him play hockey.
Yeah.
So we didn't let him go road, and he didn't really push to go road. So they hated him because he had a big rep on the house league teams.
I could never make it on the road team. Basically, was their
thought that you could never make it.
Well, all right. So in general, what would you say is the biggest thing that has changed since you were a kid?
Biggest thing changed. Oh, well, it's a class of things. Technology, certainly. And some of it for the good, some for the bad, I think.
How for the good, how for the bad?
Well, bad in terms of not having to think about a lot of things. I don't know any phone numbers anymore. I don't know any birthdays anymore. There's a great deal I don't know anymore that I used to know and thought about. I don't think about birthdays. It's easier to wait till the phone pops up and says, better do something now, that kind of thing. At the same time, that technology lets me sit there and somebody advertises some great new cream that might help my broken arm, and I immediately pop it on there and look at the reviews and say, they're full of crap. So, I mean, it's good and bad, Overall, I think it's all good. I don't like the way the world is turning, but certainly I don't think that's technology's fault. I'm not sure how we'll solve things like what are we going to do for a living when the robots do it all.
I have no friggin' clue. We're up shit's creek.
Your problem is how do you sue a robot?
What are
you going to do? You're going to kill him?
Put him in jail?
Hang him, put him in jail. He'll last. I'll last the jailer.
I mean, do you think that's probably going to be automation? One of the biggest issues that our generation, or at least our kids' generation, faces?
Well, yes, but I don't see that there's no way out. Maybe because I've read a lot of science fiction, but a lot of what's happened has been in science fiction long before it was here. But it is possible that you can end up with a robot society that takes care of the humans. So you don't have to work. I mean, there's that possibility. That you don't have to work.
Somebody's got to pay for those robots, though. Somebody's got to pay for those robots, though.
Not really. Not if they take care of each other, improve each other, fix each other.
That's a good point.
All that's true.
That's a good
or can be true. I've been reading more lately on how that might go, and nobody knows how it's going to go. But there are some possibilities out there people don't talk about.
And the like panels on ethics for robots and all that.
Well, it's interesting to me that when I used to travel on the plane all the time, I was a huge science
fiction reader. And
the guy that did iRobot and all that sort of thing, the 3 Laws of Robotics was the basis of all of his books. And he is a university professor. And those 3 laws of robotics still apply. I read something recently that said that those are the laws that they want to put into the robots.
Well, one is never harm a human.
Never harm a human being under any circumstances. You can detain them, you can do whatever, but you cannot harm a human being. I can't remember the other 2, but there's 3 laws of robotics, and they were in iRobot, the movie. If you watch that with Will
Smith,
Will Smith, those are the 3 laws of robotics that they're using again, because that is one of his books.
And it gets real sticky though whenever you're like, well, if the robot is driving a car and it's gonna get into an accident, and there's like a small child that it could hit here, or 3 old ladies it could hit over here, it's gonna do harm. who should it do harm to? That's the right. So that's
Right.
where it's real sticky. Yeah.
Well, but so's life today without the robots.
Yeah.
Sticky, you know? I mean, a lot of people have to still make bad choices today.
Yeah.
You know, none of your choices are good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm underwhelmed by a lot of the robots. I haven't seen a robot I could have a good conversation with yet, but I'll
Yes,
start
you have.
worrying.
Yes, you have. It's called your phone
Yeah, right. That's
or
right.
your computer.
Yep.
Either one.
Well, so what would you say is some of your biggest accomplishments in your life?
Biggest accomplishments? Whew. I think probably the ones that they don't mean much to the world, but for me,
no, it doesn't matter if they mean anything.
I think having the successful businesses that we've had,
Mm-hmm.
and I think on the other side, the entertainment side, the Photoshop stuff that I've done. I mean, I enjoy that very much. I think I've become fairly good at it. I could never earn a living at it, but
It's good.
I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys.
you know.
In a heartbeat.
But I mean, those are the things that are the biggest part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I had mixed emotions when we talked about whether or not we should go into business for ourselves. Again, on the negative side, my first response wasn't positive because I look at what happened in my life because of that.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I felt like this was a chance to do it differently,
Mm-hmm.
and I did it differently. Like I say, we went into business and expressions. I never missed a practice. I never missed a game. I created a lot of extra practices that I also attended, and so on. You know, so I was able to turn that around. I feel bad about the fact that it didn't happen with Lisa and Todd.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not much I can do about that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
but I mean that's the way it went.
How about just general life philosophy? Not that you're sitting around, chanting a mantra and living by it, but I mean, generally, what's
Oh my God, we gotta get some of your favorite lines. Do you know them all?
No, we got to talk about those. All right, hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on, we'll do that last. But general, just words that you live by.
I think it's the words I live by is not having words to live by.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
By that I mean that I've learned over time that you can never figure out what it's going to be like 5 years from now. And it's wonderful to plan things. Every year when we had the business, we planned for it to grow and so on and so forth. But we never planned that we would hit a point where Grandpa was gone, Grandma needed help, we had to close the business.
Mm-hmm.
We never thought about those kind of things ahead of time.
Yeah.
Even when Mom and I got married, we didn't talk about having children ahead of time, and that became a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mom wanted to have a child. As far as I was concerned, I had a boy and a girl. Didn't have to go any further than that,
Mm-hmm.
And we literally went to a psychologist for that. And then I had my big aha, which was, all my life I never felt I would live to be very old. And when we were talking about having children, I'm 11 years older than Mom is, and it wasn't as I thought that I didn't want any more children. It was that I didn't think I'd be there. I'd never seen my parents grow. They both died in their early 60s. I never saw them grow old. I could never see myself growing old, and I didn't really feel like I'd be there. Once I realized that, that was the case, and they didn't die of something that I was going to die from because they had it, everything changed. But you can't plan for all this stuff. So I've been more roll with the punches kind of thing. I have, well, I don't have any goals anymore today, I'll be honest, but I had goals in my life and so on and so forth, but I never made them my life's work because I knew that anything else could change that. We could get embedded in a business and Mom could get sick and that business wouldn't have flourished without Mom. So what do you do then?
Your goals got to change.
Well, you better be ready to change to something else. And I guess that's really it. I could do a lot of different things in my life. So it didn't have to be this or that. And God knows when I went through college, I wasn't thinking of starting my own business. I thought of being in business, but I didn't think of having my own. That wasn't very attractive to me because of my family.
Yeah.
They didn't do it well, But
so Kelly brought up sayings.
that long one?
Yeah. So why don't we start with the longest one?
Write them down.
The one that starts with
Kind,
there you go.
considerate,
Mm-hmm.
loyal, trustworthy, courageous, sweet, pure, lighthearted, effervescent, drip dry, and pre-shrunk.
And the last one, you missed the last one. Polyunsaturated.
Polyunsaturated.
Yeah. So why did you? Where did you get that from? And why did you start out with nice words and end up with dry cleaning words?
I don't know where it came from. I know that the basis of it was 2 all beef patties, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It was in that period that I put that combination together.
Okay.
But I have always had a penchant for having sayings.
Yeah.
I've always had that. And I have determined the reason I had that is because my mother did that.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and father were a product of radio and black and white TV, not TV, but black and white movies and things like that. And I've learned that many of the sayings that I use came from my parents, and they got them out of movies.
It's like slogans or sayings or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or off of radio TV shows that their sign-off things or whatever it might be, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where all that came from. But I know a lot of things that I say all the time, but
Yeah.
I couldn't give you a list of them, you know.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But
how about when you walk into a restaurant and the
They could bring you to the table.
server asks you where you would like to be sat?
that comes from a general.
Well, say what it is first. Yeah.
Well, I'd like a view of the beach, and I'd like to. Oh,
Close
you're
to the orchestra.
No, next to the dance floor, right?
close to the dance floor in the orchestra,
Yeah.
right? That really comes from I have
What is
found,
it? Close to the dance floor next
Right next to the
Right
orchestra.
next to the orchestra.
yeah. But all of that comes from, and I have found it has served me very well. But all of that comes from an appreciation of people who work at retail, be that in a restaurant or retail.
Mhm.
I have to tell you, the Barnes and Noble stores I go to, they know me, I know them. The banks I work with, I know them, they know me. And it's because I am friendly to them. And I've had many people say to me, "You're the first nice person I've talked to today."
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Well, because
Yeah.
people at retail don't get a lot of love.
Mhm.
And if you're nice to them, they're nice to you, and they appreciate it. And I like having interchanges with them.
Mhm.
You know, why should they be strangers? You know,
Yeah.
that's why we always liked bed and breakfast as opposed to hotels.
Mhm.
They're much friendlier than the people behind the desk.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And they know a lot more about what you're going to do. You know? But I mean, that's where all the saying stuff came
Well,
from.
and the saying stuff, you've been known for that for how long? I mean,
Most of my life.
yeah, I
Most
remember.
of my life. It didn't. I mean, it started as a teenager,
Mhm.
and it came, as I say, I think it came more from my mother, most of all,
Yeah.
because she used to use a lot of things she would hear from movies and radio shows. I grew up listening to radio shows.
How about if a server asks you if you want some dessert?
You mean the I'm trying to quit?
Well, no, I say I'm trying to quit
Yeah,
now
you do that
constantly,
all
and
the
people
time.
love the shit out of it. They love it. But,
Oh God.
no, what do you?
Yeah, he does.
What do you? What other than I'm trying to quit? When you deadpan it,
I'm not sure what you're referring
you
to.
look them dead in the eye and basically yell at them to shut up.
Oh, I say, no, I don't really.
Yeah, no, you
Say,
look them
"Oh,
dead.
shut up."
No, you look them dead in the eye. You go, shut up, and then you smile right. You give it that one brief pause where
Right.
they might think you're being serious, and then you smile.
Right.
At them. Yeah.
I can't think of it at the moment, but I have a number of them that have that kind of a reaction.
Yeah.
If I don't smile immediately afterwards, they
Yeah.
think I'm real over.
Oh.
But I always smile immediately afterwards, and they realize he's kidding. You know?
I'm trying to remember what else is there. There's a bunch.
Oh, I have.
Gosh.
At one time,
Good Lord.
Ethan Allen, remember the picture we had?
Mm.
oh yeah, when I left Ethan Allen, 2 things happened. One was, of course, I was head of the advertising department at that point in time, and when they had a party for me when I left, and when I went in, they had taken sticks and they had created a drawing of my face and cut eyes out.
Yeah.
And there were like 50 people in the room. Everyone was holding my picture up in front of their
That's
face. You know? And then they had the drawing of me, which was a waist-high kind of thing, you know, but it was in a big frame. And we, not long ago, I think when we moved here is when we finally got rid of it.
We have it.
Do
Do we?
you really?
I don't know. We
I
did
don't
at
know.
some point.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
don't know.
I don't know. But anyhow, they wrote all these sayings that I say all over this picture. You know, so it had all the sayings that they heard me say all the time.
In the
over
shed,
there.
look.
We will. I don't know.
But well, somewhere I probably have it on a
Yeah.
Picture of
file
it.
too. A picture of it on the file too.
So what else did we not cover that we should have covered?
I don't know. I'm trying to think, but I don't really know. Growing old.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. What do you think about it?
Well, I think of Grandpa who constantly said, "Ben, don't ever grow old."
Oh God, he told me that, and it scared the shit out of me. It literally did.
I mean, it was every-
Jesus. Okay, well, I can't help it. Like,
My grandpa said that too.
yeah, it's like God. No, but he said
But
it
Oh.
like really don't. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I can't. How do I stop?
Tell
it?
me how to control it.
Yeah. Everyone says the alternative's much worse.
That's
what
right.
my parents say.
Yeah, but that answer doesn't work either. You know, because we're all going to die anyhow, one way or another.
Well,
you know.
no, the
No, but if you
alternative
don't
is
grow,
dying young.
It's you're dead.
Yeah,
right?
it's
That's the
dying
alternative.
When you're young.
Yeah.
So.
No, I guess I've always been an optimistic kind of person, you know, and I can truly look at what's happened with my arm, look what's happened with my legs, look what's happened with my eye, and I can say, boy, it could have been a whole lot worse. There are so many people that have cancer or this or that or the other thing that's so much worse than what I have, you know, and I didn't get sick at all until I was in my mid-70s. And I'm not incapacitated in any way, shape, or form now. I'm limited as to how much of anything I can do, but I'm still a hell of a lot more active than a lot of people I know younger than I am.
I was gonna say. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, just me getting older. Like in my 30s, I have that torn rotator cuff, right, and my lower back hurts, and so now I count. I'm like, oh, that's two things, right?
Yeah.
I've got two things
Me too.
that are not good, right, and they're just gonna get worse. And I mean, I didn't even think about it that way. So you've got broken arm that's still broken, right?
It'll always be broken.
Yeah, that's
It can't
right.
be
It's
fixed.
not getting fixed. You've
And
got,
it hurts every night.
Every freaking yeah. You're blind in one eye,
Right.
and you've got two bad knees. So
Right,
that's
but I'm
four
basically in
things.
good shape. You know?
No, you're right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm optimistic about stuff like that. You know, I don't feel that, you know, the good Lord's put upon me for anything because of those things. You know, there's so many people with so many things that are so much worse. You know, and I mean that truly suffer and have no reason to live anymore. You know, I guess to me, quality of life is the whole thing. You know, when quality of life is gone, okay, it's time to put them away. But up until then, you know.
Yeah.
And I have been saddened by the fact that it slows me down,
Yeah.
you know, and that I have some pain and so on. But I don't feel like it's time to quit.
Yeah. Does it? I mean, you hear every once in a while from people with positive attitudes about getting older that inside, like mentally, you feel exactly like you did when you were. I mean, you know, a young adult. No, mentally, it's no different. Just the body you're in kind of sucks now. Is that true or no?
I don't know. I can't say that I feel that way. I mean, I am very aware of my limitations now. Okay. But I guess because I know that I still do a whole lot more than most people who are 79 years old, it doesn't bother me that much. And nothing was more pleasurable when I went in than when I went into the hospital and they said, you know, when's the last time you were in the hospital? And I gave my date of birth, you know, because that had been the last time I was. For my eye, I wasn't there overnight. You know, for my arm, I was there through the night, but they didn't check me in and keep me overnight, you know. I mean, I just haven't gone to the hospital for anything,
Yeah.
you know. And so, I mean, that was very pleasurable when I could say to them, here's my date of birth. That's the last time I was in the hospital, you
Yeah.
know, overnight. You know? So, I mean, you know, I still feel positive about all of that. It does drag on me that, you know, and of course, Mom is still ready to go all the time. She's always asking, well, let's add this and this and this and this. And I'm at a point where it gets to hurt that, you know, it's time to quit. And I'm trying to teach her to slow down a bit. She has slowed down some, but not enough.
Sure.
But, you know, I'm still a lot more active than most people my age. So
You're on the
I
cusp of
I
80.
don't feel about it. Pardon me?
You're on the
But
cusp of 80.
you were saying, like, do you feel like mentally, like, do you feel like you've changed a lot since you were like 30? Or do you feel kind of like I'm a 30-year-old in an older body?
No, I don't feel that way at all. What I do feel is I know a lot more than I ever knew when I was 30. And, would I change some things? Probably not, only because, you change one thing, you can change everything.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about people that say, well, if I had just done this at a certain
Right.
age, well, yeah, but if you could have changed that, something else may have changed also, and you could have been a lot worse. So I don't think about that kind of stuff, But no, I can't say that I feel a lot different than I did when I was 30.
Yeah.
Because I never had a long-term plan to start with, and that I guess maybe you could be critical of, but I never had a long-term plan.
What do you want to do in your 80s?
Ooh.
Don't know. That really depends on what I can do in my 80s.
Mhm.
There are things I wish I had done, places I wish I had gone. When Nancy and I were going on the trips, I missed a couple of the best places out in the West that I've never gone to, but I couldn't enjoy those anymore. I couldn't. My body wouldn't take it.
Kelly and I were talking about that a little bit when we were in Europe, because I always, you would appreciate Europe so much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I never have gotten out of the country. I've been a little bit into Mexico, a little bit in Canada, and I miss that. But I've seen an awful lot of the United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of the very best parts of the United States. And so that makes up for it for me.
I was going to say, there's a decent amount of people that haven't seen. We were talking to a friend of ours that is well traveled in the world, but she
hasn't been to like
Virginia
Yeah.
and Florida. And those are the two states she's ever been to.
Yeah.
That's it, right? And you can go to
I didn't even
Iceland,
know
that's
how
fine.
that's possible.
But,
You never drove anywhere? It's like,
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that impressed me the most was the first time when we moved out to New Mexico. And at that time, Lisa and her family would come out and spend a week. They took a vacation and came out and spent a week every year. But at the same time, at Christmas, I would give Lisa a round-trip ticket to Las Cruces. And so she could come and have a week away from her kids and on vacation with them. And we would end up going places, The first time I took her to the Grand Canyon, because you don't see the Grand Canyon until you get out of the car and walk up to the edge.
Yeah.
She cried.
Yeah.
She literally cried. She hadn't seen anything like that. The first time she came to our house in Las Cruces, on the front side of on the back side of the house is the city of Las Cruces. On the front side of the house is the mountains. There's no light in the mountains. She walked outside and she looked up and she cried again. She'd never seen the Milky Way that way in her life, Well, that kind of stuff you don't have to go to Europe for.
Yeah.
There's
You're
lots
not going to
of
see it
things.
in Europe. You just
Right, and so I miss seeing a lot of things in Europe, but I've seen an awful lot of what's here, and I don't know that what's in Europe, while it would be different and interesting, would necessarily be better.
And Kelly,
we said that too. There's stuff just as beautiful. It's just different. They have older stuff.
well, and what we were talking about too,
but the natural
it's
stuff.
older stuff, but the natural beauty. I think that's the most incredible thing about the United States is that you go to Europe and you're like, oh, I want to see a desert. Okay, where do you go? You don't. There's
They're
no desert.
way over.
Right?
Totally different area.
It's not there. You know?
Right.
Well, I want to go to like a rainforest-esque.
Right.
Good luck.
Well, one of the things we always enjoyed the most was go up to Page, Arizona. And I don't remember, did you? Yeah, you went to Page with us. And from Page, you can go to all kinds of different, you can day trip out of there and go to all the different places that are there. And there's like 7 or 8 different national parks you can go to. And every day you say, oh God, you can't get prettier than this. But you're down looking up and it's gorgeous. And the next day you're up somewhere else looking down and it's even more gorgeous, every day can be just totally different and you're day tripping out somewhere, So it's unbelievable to me. So I've never really regretted that. Would I like to have seen some of Europe? Yeah, but it's really the cultures I would have liked to have seen, not so much the countries.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I've never had a desire to see the Swiss Alps. I'm sure it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I would be more interested in the cultures.
Hanging out
Where
with
in the
Swiss.
US
yeah.
did you say
Well, not
you
even
wish-
hanging out with the Swiss. I would have hung out with some other groups. I'd love to hang out with the Irish or hang out with the, that kind of thing. I mean, where the culture is truly, well, I won't say different. It's different in Switzerland too. But
Yeah.
but no, I've never had regrets about that. I mean, I would have liked to have done some of that.
Yeah.
But I've
Where
seen
in
more of the U.S. than
were
most
you
people.
saying you
in.
wanted to go? That
Pardon me?
you said somewhere in the U.S. you wanted to go, but hadn't been.
Oh well, what's the? Pardon me. Yeah, Yosemite.
Where's that? I should
Yosemite
know
National Park. That's a
No, it's not Colorado.
that. Wyoming?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and there's another
Sounds
one.
right.
There's another one out there
Wyoming?
like that. Where's the one where they keep saying the fault is going to go and the United States is going to split in half? and all?
Like the famous redwood forest in California.
No, this is
I went
further in.
there.
It's like
Have you been?
where we were just talking. It's another national park, but those two national
Yellowstone
parks.
is the volcano they say is going to.
Yeah, that's the
blow
one,
up
Yellowstone.
in the world.
Okay, that one Nancy and I never got to, and the reason we never did was it would take at least a couple of weeks to do that if you're going to do it by car, and
Oh,
we
big
never
time.
took more than a week's vacation, and on our trips, so
Yeah.
we didn't get to see those. So that's two places that I missed. But again, I couldn't go to them. I couldn't do them now.
Yeah.
Last time I went to the Grand Canyon, I used my little wheelchair thing, and they let me drive from one stop to the other. And I got out, walked, and looked at it. Oh, that's gorgeous. Went back out in the car and drove to the next one. Nancy has a bad hip. She couldn't do it any more than I could, but we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't do what you need to do. It's like here. God, I'd love to go see the waterfalls, but they're all hike to
Yeah,
them.
they're hard to
and I
get
can't
to,
go
right?
hike to them.
Yeah.
But I love waterfalls and I love water. I just missed it. But
Did
God,
we-
I saw so many other things in their place.
Yeah.
So no big deal.
Did we do favorite things? Like, do you have a favorite book or a favorite movie or?
Oh, can't say favorite movie.
Well, you saw the premiere of Star Wars. That was pretty awesome, right?
Well, I saw Star Wars. I mean, that was the occasion as
Yeah.
opposed to the movie because I saw Star Wars in New York City the opening night.
Oh, cool. Were people dressed up, or how would they have been?
No,
probably
they didn't even know the damn
who they were.
characters.
They're like, this movie's
No.
gonna stink.
Right. Well, and they didn't know it was going to be the big hit that it was,
Yeah.
But Joe Cooper and I saw that together. Joe Cooper's the guy in St. Louis that
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
connected with recently. That
Never die.
no, but Joe, I was with Joe the last time I went to St. Louis. We met for breakfast. But anyhow, he and I saw that, and that was wonderful. But it was because it was the first night, that sort of thing. I mean, I love Star Wars, but it was the event more than the movie itself. I like a lot of movies. I like a variety of things, be it music, be it, and I didn't say that about you, and I don't know if you remember, but the doctors, somebody said to us ahead of time that if you want Matthew to appreciate music, play music when he sleeps. And so we went on a campaign when he was born, and every night we'd have the radio to a different kind of music, be it country or whatever.
Cool.
Matthew grew up loving all kinds of music except country, hated country, okay. But he played country, but he called it something else.
He still does.
I
He
know.
still does the same
I
things.
know,
Like it's
and he still
acid
calls it something.
country.
He
It's
still
like, no.
calls it something else. He has this social thing about
Can't do
country
it.
music.
Can't do it.
But Matthew loves all kinds of music, and I do too. Now I don't like some of the things that you like rap and that sort of thing, But that's being old fashioned.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love all different kinds of music. I love all different kinds of movies. I don't really have favorites in those things.
How about I don't think we covered heirlooms. Mom had 4 million heirlooms that we discussed. Well, you got anything hanging around?
No.
I don't think
To
so.
me, the heirlooms are primarily like the
miniatures.
the
yeah.
miniatures that I did.
Art.
And actually, Nancy has the straight carousel that I did.
I have the carousel.
Oh, you have the carousel.
Pretty sure.
No, you have the animals to the round one that I did that came apart.
Okay.
I first did a straight one. Wasn't nearly as good as the round one.
Oof.
But
Help Mom with that.
I gave that to Nancy, and Nancy has instructions to give that to Lisa when I pass away. But I have given a couple of things to Nancy and said, when you're gone, put a note on that they go to Lisa,
Love a good sticky note death gift.
Yes.
Yeah. Just when you feel like you're starting to go. Just
Stick that
before you go to the hospital, write some sticky notes.
That's right.
Yeah, so Mom brought this out. So what is that?
Well, I found a pair of metal wheels.
Okay.
And
I don't know that I've ever touched this thing in my
I
entire
paid
life.
$1 for the metal wheels.
Okay.
And then I built this all from scratch.
Careful.
And it was my wedding gift.
And it was a wedding gift to Mom.
Mm.
And interestingly enough, I named it C.W. McCurdy's because that appealed to me. But it turns out that C.W. McCurdy was one of Mom's relatives.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather, to be exact.
But my pride in all the miniature stuff was the fact that I made everything myself. I made it either from scratch or out of something.
Holy crap! It actually has an axle on it. The back wheels turn.
Yeah.
Nice job, Villmer.
So cool.
Jeez, give me a break. I don't even know where you buy tiny hinges. where do you
You get them at
purchase?
Hobby Lobby. You can still give them to them.
Okay.
Yeah. But, when Mom and I got married, I had been doing miniatures for a while. And I won a lot of awards, not because they were museum pieces, but
Yeah.
because I did everything from scratch. Somebody else would have gotten the wheels, they'd have found some sort of an old stagecoach or something and put the wheels on it, and then they'd have bought food, or they'd have bought this, that, or the other thing, all kinds of stuff to put on it. I made everything, either from something else
Yeah.
or from scratch.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, this thing's ridiculous.
So cool.
That's
Well, the antique shop over there, the main table that's in the antique shop, is a little plastic thing that you use to separate the layers of a wedding cake.
Mm-hmm.
And then I cut a top and I finished it all in wood. I mean, just
Yeah.
making it out of something. That's was the fun of it to me, was to create something out of.
I do remember when, so talk a little bit about my bedroom and what you made for the walls in Miller Lane. Because you made that all on your own jigsaw out in the garage.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, because in your room what we did was we painted mountains and so on.
Yep.
And then we did we hung all sorts of
Do you guys have a
branches
picture
and
of
stuff
this
like
somewhere?
that.
No, you not only painted it, so there were a ton of things that you personally cut out on your jigsaw in the garage.
Well,
snakes and
Snake,
coyotes
yeah,
and
that's right.
Yeah.
cacti and
Right,
all
to give
kinds of
dimension-
crap
to give dimension to it,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
The other thing we always did was we always were collectors, so we collected antiques, but I also made a lot of antique type toys. You had one of them, which was the black guy with
Yeah.
the bouncing. Do you still have that, or is
Yeah,
that
I've
going
got
up?
that
You still have it? But I mean, I made reproductions, if you will, of antique toys.
Mhm.
And you always in your room had a shelf around it that was full of either antique toys or toys that I had made that looked like antiques.
How
And
did you
that's
get on the Santa Claus collection type thing?
Well, Santa Claus started with, I had some ice cream molds of Santa Clauses. And Mom said one day, if you filled us with plaster, you could make a Santa Claus, And so I did that, and I had several of them. And then Mother came up with one of the worst ideas she's ever had. And she said, we could sell those in a booth.
How has your idea been the same since like 1970? You're like, what we should do? We should sell this.
So here I
the
was.
same idea, just
Here I was, if making a Santa Claus out of this mold and painting it and antiquing it and so on is fun, wouldn't it be fun to do 500 of the same one?
Can't you just do that? Have fun in bulk.
Right.
That's
right.
I think the same way.
So anyhow, I started out making some out of this, and I've always been a Santa Claus fan. Now you have a couple of drawings that I've done. I've always been in love with Thomas Nast's Santa Claus. So anyhow, then I made some Santas out of clay. I carved some out of wood. And then we found some to buy, and then all of a sudden I'm doing displays in the library at Christmas time and so on and,
And we
so
have
forth.
350.
And we have 350 of them, but everybody at Christmas now is giving me Santas, and pretty soon I have to distinguish between which ones did I do. Which I,
No, I remember when we were cleaning out the Miller Lane basement, you had the display case, and we were trying to figure out when we were going to sell stuff or throw it away because you had so many. We're like, shit, did I make this one or not? Like, I don't even know.
So anyhow, when we moved, I forget where we moved, but when we moved one time, I said, I'm getting rid of everything I didn't make, and I'm going back to my Santas.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that.
And
then,
the rest.
Well, we sold and gave them away.
Yeah.
There was one Christmas we gave everybody some of the Santas and so on and so forth, and then we sold some when we moved down to New Mexico and so on. But, I mean, I always loved having that, you know. That's an interesting thing in our life, I think, is the fact that I have not regretted for one moment the fact that we left everything we had in New Mexico. Never regretted.
Except our books that you made.
Well, the books that I made, yeah, I regret.
The one box you left in New Mexico.
Yeah, but that wasn't intentional.
Yeah,
that was by accident, you know. But I mean, I thought that might be very difficult. We thought we had cut back twice, and we didn't. We still had a 6,800 square foot house full of it, and we still had a garage, even bigger, with 4x8 shelving all the way around it, 3
I
high.
wish I could have seen
And
it.
they were full of boxes of stuff.
You had to get on an actual huge ladder to go get up to the top step. Like, these people owned an RV, and they're like, you know what? We're not going to have an RV. Let's put shelves in here to store all our shit.
And we just walked away from fur coats, you name it. We just walked away from all that. We took
Fabric
nothing.
by the bolt.
We took nothing that we could not fit into the apartment that we moved into here. And neither one of us, I'm happy to say, have regretted that at all. Once in a while, we'll say, didn't we keep the wine opener? Didn't we keep the wine opener? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, the time had come to divest ourselves of all of it, you know, and we had a lot of fun with it. We made a lot of money. We're still getting a check for about $100 a month from eBay for the stuff that they sell, you know.
Nice.
So, I mean, we did sell a bunch of it because we knew the day we died, you'd walk in and have Goodwill take it all out without even looking at it. You know, say, wow, yeah, you know. Oh, you made that? That's cute. Yeah, some of that'll go to Goodwill for $4. You know?
Well, if you care that much about things, put some sticky notes on them.
I figure you'll be the guy picking it, so you know you'll decide that.
Kelly.
I will. Don't worry.
All right. What else did we not cover that we should have?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, we've covered attitude, we've covered experience, we've covered all of that. I think we're there.
Okay.
It's you know, you need to do this again in another 10 years and see what's what's come up.
No, I was going to say, I feel like we forgot something, so we could always just do more.
Yeah. How have you kept your flowing locks for this long?
Yeah, what's your secret?
I put it on the bedpost every night.
We used to put it up in rollers.
You know how I make friends with people, you know. When I go to the barbershop, my standard line is, you know, look very carefully because I don't want you to cut any of the brown ones. Yeah. Only cut the gray ones, you know, and they love it.
Yeah.
You know?
Or,
well, honey, we don't have any brown left.
I know that.
One of your standards was, if anybody asks if you got a haircut, you say, yeah, I lost 10 pounds.
Yeah, that's right. I lost 10 pounds right at the top of my head.
You say that too. He's stealing your lines then.
Oh, I have found that. You know who else does it? Todd.
Yeah.
Todd has a lot of my lines too, you know, and you don't hear it as often, but every once in a while one of those pops out and I realize that he's...
When we go into a restaurant, sometimes they'll say 2, and you'll look at it and say, yeah, we couldn't get a date.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Neither
one of us could get a date.
Yeah.
Well, it always seemed that in that case, it always seemed like kind of strange. They look at the two of you.
Yeah.
You know, say,
Yeah.
2? You know.
Fran is coming at 10 o'clock.
Oh, is she? Okay.
Anything else?
Not that I can think of, unless something else occurs to you that you want to know and record.
Anything else?
You really did a good job, man.
You did.
Try.
Good try.
And you did it.
Do it for a
great.
living.
Well, I think you've got the essence of us now.
Right? I think
You
so. I think so.
Let's turn this around. Did you learn anything you didn't know, Matthew Villmer?
I learned a lot.
I learned that Dad had 3 marriages, of which I was unaware of the first one.
You didn't know that?
Hell no, I didn't know that. No one's ever
Well,
told
I
me.
never talked about that. I never really considered it a real marriage
Yeah,
because
well,
I married to get away from home,
Yeah.
same as
And we
Nancy
had
did.
no reason to tell
It
you.
lasted a year and it was
purpose.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I
but it's
knew
in
it.
the family history.
Yeah.
It's there.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's all in the family.
So many people don't know that he was married before. I forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
If I say it, people are like,
All right. Is that framed?
Yeah. When are we going to see these things?
I already uploaded Mom's to the cloud.
oh, cool.
But you haven't edited it
No,
yet,
I
have you?
haven't, but I'm not going to edit them.
Plus-
It's too much.
I wouldn't edit him at
I'm
all.
not going to do much, I don't think.
I'm just gonna move.
Is it on or off, Kelly?
I did spit on someone's face. I would over
Kelly,
my
is it
niece's
still on?
It's still on.
house warning,
I
and
think
I
we should
told
turn it
her.
off.
I think so too. I don't know why Matt didn't.
You're not getting anything you can use.
I know.
Talk about this unless someone's going to give me a name and a phone
I
number
just
so
don't
I
wanna-
can get it to them.
Matthew,
Matt, will you turn it off?
Matthew, turn that off.
Sure.
All this background's not going to be any good for you.
Yeah.
Let me